So young players, they don't seem to be very good. Sorry, I'm calling you all out. Situational hitting. Is there a way for them to get better at this? Do you believe, or do you think that's true, what I just said? Is situational hitting still valuable? What's your take here?
Yeah, I think it's really valuable. On the training side of things, I'm a strength coach. I don't really worry too much about situational hitting, and what I do, I'm more worried about increasing bat speed, increasing exit velocity, which is ultimately to help guys hit the ball harder, hit it farther. But I don't know if that needs to be the goal every time a guy steps into the box. I think having better back speed or better bat speed makes you a better hitter, but you don't always need to be selling out for hitting a home run and driving the ball as far as you can. Especially like at the high school, college level, there's guys that they're just not to be able to drive the ball out of the ballpark every time, and maybe you're in a situation that doesn't really call for it. You've got a guy on first base, you've got no outs, you need to get that guy to third base one way or the other. So if you hit a deep fly ball to left center field that gets caught, that's not going to do it. So maybe you just learn how to hit a line drive somewhere and then just get that guy to advance. If you think about it, like even as a pitcher, the more guys that you have on base, I mean, that's more stressful for you as a pitcher, right?
Yeah, big time. Stressful innings add up, and that also, especially if you have like a really good starting pitcher that you're facing, if you can have second and third, first and second, a couple innings in a row, like his pitch count's going to climb, he's going to have a harder, more stressful day. He's probably just not going to go as deep in the game, even if all those runs don't cash. And that's an important thing to understand as well. Yeah, and to your point about most high, like you have a lot of really high, like strong, above average caliber players in your facility, and even then, most of them aren't hitting dingers all the time, right?
I mean, and it's not like a strength issue. It's just it's a skill issue. Like
barreling it up.
You just can't barrel it up every single time.
Yeah.
Especially when you get into a situation where, like we talked about a second ago, if you have two strikes on you and your team's kind of counting you to put the ball in play and just do something, like I think you need to cut down on your swing and don't be trying to hit the ball as hard as you possibly can. Just do anything you can to put the bat on the ball. Just try to put it in the outfield somewhere and try to make something good happen.
Yeah, I know this focus on like trying to do damage all the time is like great if you're Jackson Holliday in high school, like, or Bryce Harper was back in high school, where just like you can just destroy the ball. But I think the other people forget is that a line drive into the gap is much more often like first to third at the high school level, because outfield arms are not as good. Outfielders are not as fast. Outfielders don't take as good angles at the ball. So like a single over the second baseman's head or the shortstop's head does a lot more damage at the amateur level than it does in like pro ball, right? Because those guys are so good at taking a good route to the ball, so that as they scoop it up in the outfield, they're ready to throw, 96 to third base and like nail a guy. So there's a lot more ways to be successful just putting the ball in play. Fielding is way worse at the amateur level. The amount, and it's not just like making errors, but also just you hit the ball hard to the right side, fielders have way less range. Outfielders have way less range. So you have way more chances to get on base. And then again, to my point a second ago, like, you might go first to third on the next single. You might advance on a swinging bunt, and obviously there's more errors, there's more walks. There's just way more things that can go right when you just get on first base, right? And I think even like in the postseason this year in 2024, there's been a lot. I mean, there's still been home runs, but I've been impressed with how much more hitters are content. Hit a line drive, get on base. Like there's been a lot more, I feel like, old school baseball in the playoffs, because these have been well-pitched games. They're tight, so it's like, and the pitching has been excellent. So guys are like, look, I can't go up there and sell out every at bat. Like, let me hit the ball hard. And I just been impressed, and I've enjoyed watching the MLB game recently. Just like line drive, and then guess what? Aaron Judge is up with two guys on. That's pretty fun. Like, not everyone has to do damage. Just let one guy do damage, right? And if you're not the guy who does that, don't worry about it. Still, just try to spray the ball over the infield and run the base as well. But yeah, and I think the situational hitting thing is still hard to coach.
Yeah,
because it's something that takes a lot of, you have to be able to coach it in the game. And I think there's fewer coaches who played at higher levels and that's just part of like the rigor of the travel schedule. It's no one's fault, but like you can't pay someone like me to coach your travel team and give away 8 weekends a year and be there. Like a lot of it's just dads coaching, and many who didn't play baseball, and they're well-meaning and they're doing the best they can, but they might not have the situational acumen to coach kids in those moments. And so like when they have good coaches, they need to try to capitalize on those teachable moments. But generally it's just players, I wish they played in the backyard more. They don't. I think backyard baseball had a really big impact on our baseball IQ, where you just learn like, okay, he's over there, I hit it that way, I can probably get to third, I'm going to try, and we're in the backyard, so who cares if I don't make it? Like, I'll be mad because maybe you win today, but like, I'm going to try to go first or third because I can. Like I was watching, have you seen any of the Pete Rose documentary?
Not yet.
Like, he was an amazing player, irregardless of what, you thought of his gambling and all that stuff, which, but he has a memory where he's saying when he was playing the Yankees, he was on third, it was like the ninth inning, and there was a pop-up hit to short, and he said the shortstop was backpedaling into it. And the shortstop caught it backpedaling, Pete Rose took off and tagged and scored. He said, because I knew no one can throw me out if you're going back. Yep. You got to be coming in if you're going to throw me out at the plate. And like, that's something you only learn like playing sort of like impromptu baseball and also just challenging yourself over and over. Like the fact that he saw this, like no one tags on a pop-up to short. No. I'm sure it was in the outfield. Like I didn't have there was no video of this play, but he's like, that was one of his, I think in his rookie season, but he's just talking about how he knew himself. I know you can't throw me out or it's going to be real, real close. And that was the go-ahead run.
Well, that's the thing you get from just playing a lot of baseball and not everything being in like a showcase environment.
And not being afraid to make mistakes either. And that's, I think that's part of the problem in the culture of baseball now is everyone's so focused on achievement. Players feel like everything they do is under the microscope and they're afraid to make those mistakes. But it's like, how does Pete Rose know that you can't throw him out even from like shallow left field if you're going back on the ball? Because he's done it before and he's been thrown out before, I think that's so cool about a lot of the way baseball used to be played. And it's still played in some. I mean, there's still some good base running in Major League Baseball now, but you just see less of it generally. I think so. Because of the way players develop.
Yeah. Well, to kind of put a bow on that, I think just to kind of tie all that together. I'm not one of these people that thinks I don't like the launch angle swing or anything like that. I think in training you do want to train to swing as hard as you can, like train to get that bat speed up, train to hit the ball in the air and do damage. But you also need to find a way to figure out how to adjust your swing. And just make things happen in a game situation when you either don't get your pitch that you can drive really far, or you're at an 0-2 count and you got to get a runner over third base. And that's just something that, like you said, you get it from a lot of experience, and a lot of those reps maybe have to come from just playing in the backyard and doing some sandlot baseball. Because you don't get that situation a lot if you're just going to a showcase. And even if you're getting evaluated on like exit velo and like distance, I still think there is a lot of value in evaluating players on their ability to play the game well. But I don't know, do you feel like, do coaches still really look closely at that kind of stuff? Or are we in an era where everything is just, I want to see metrics, and it's kind of getting to be like the NFL Combine where if you run the fastest 40, you're getting drafted high. I don't care if you ever played football before.
It's definitely more metrics heavy. And look, I'm not the god of baseball knowledge, but like I've even attended some D1 games in the last couple years, and I've been like, that was a bad base running play, and I didn't see a coach correct them, and just like little things that like cost a team an out, or like could have set up the double play, but instead the double play is like broken up, and now one out, and now the next ground ball goes to short, and that could have been inning and double play, but because of this fielding error or positional error, stuff like that doesn't happen. I don't know. I just think, like I said, I think part of it goes back to who's coaching the teams, and that there's fewer high-level coaches coaching players from a young age where they can drill the situational stuff in. And then the kids are not playing backyard baseball themselves where they learn things instinctually. Because like, especially with like advancing on pass balls where the ball squirts away a little bit, again, that's the opportunity for players to see like how far away does the ball have to be from the catcher for me to get to second base or for me to get to third base or stuff like that. And then you have, when players have that super aggressive, like, I think I can make a mentality, then coaches, all they have to do is like rein them in and say, hey, no, that wasn't the best time to try to get to third because there was 2 outs and we need a base hit to score you anyway. So don't make the third out of third base there, like it's easier for a coach to corral aggressiveness and like instincts than to like teach them.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right? So
do you think players that have good like natural instincts, is it really just guys that have played a lot of baseball and they just have seen all these situations and they can kind of anticipate what's going to happen?
I don't think it's always just having played more. I think it's also just like, why does someone have a good eye for like, design? Like, why does you have 2 people that learn to paint and one of them like takes off and is really good at it? They just like have a better eye for composing things or like putting colors together. And I think some players that I've played with, they're just better at calling pitches because they're just thinking on a different level than I was, at least at that stage of their career. Maybe I catch up later. And I think it's the same thing with just like players. You can't tell how they're observing the game. And like, I think Derek Jeter was a great example when they had that famous play against the Athletics where it's like, he was just watching things unfold, like playing the game and like, what happens if this happens? I want to be there because I don't really need to be where I'm at now. And he just starts to move that way. And I think some players are just better at observing the sort of ballet and all the moving pieces. And they just like, one good example is like when there's a ball hit beyond, like a pop-up hit beyond the third baseman. Third baseman's going to chase it, shortstop's going to chase it. And if there's a runner on first and that ball lands, there might be no one at third base. And as a pitcher, I know there were times in my career where I would just watch them and not realize that, I should go be on third base. Because that's not like one of the things we're taught as pitchers. We're taught to like back up and cover first. But like covering third when third gets vacated isn't like really on the menu of things we teach each other or like coaches teach us. But like the smart players, there's no one at third. I should be at third. Like I'm the guy who can get there easily. The catcher needs to probably stay at home. Everyone else is doing something like, I should just go there because there's no one there. And those are like little things that, like some players pick up on faster than others just because they're just trying to figure out what does our team need in this moment. And I just think some people are better observers of different things than others.
Yeah, so guys are better observing and then kind of interpreting what they're seeing and then figuring out what needs to be done. And I think a lot of times those guys they see the game on a different level and they just have a better understanding of what it is they're seeing and how it's going to impact the rest of the play.